156, you notice we're counting down. 156 BC, the Jews rebel under the Maccabees. How many of y'all ever heard of the Maccabees? The Maccabees come in there and they sack those Syrians and take Jerusalem back. And so now there's still a war and they're still having all this conflict. But in 156 BC is when that happens. And they take it back and they cleanse the temple because they had come in there. And now this is where you start getting all these money changers and all this. Remember now, the common man during this time, this 400 years, they're losing everything. They came in, this guy Antiochus, and this guy here, Epicurus, what he did is he rounded up all the priests and sold them out as slaves. So they didn't have any more priests. And so they rock on there, and the Maccabees come back and they cleanse the temple, and they get some of the priests back and get in there and they start trying to get everything going again. But things have changed because so much time has passed. They've lost so much. A lot of people can't remember what's what. What are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to do it? So what happens is, when this happens then, in 63 BC, the Romans come in. So Rome comes in. And when Rome comes in, they set up a Caesar. And when Caesar comes in, this cat named Pompey, he comes in first. And Pompey comes in with Rome in 63 BC, and he sacks the temple and desecrates the Holy of Holies again. Then when he gets done with that, he sets up a Caesar. In 47 BC, they set up a Caesar. And the first Caesar that they set up is this cat by the name of, how you say it? Let's see, Antipater. 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 And they set him up. Well, that don't really mean anything to you or I, but he has two boys. And he gets those two boys and he makes them kings. And they become kings over Galilee and Judea. And the first one's name is Herod the Great. But you know where Antipater's lineage comes from? Esau. Yeah. So what he does, these guys are from Esau. That's their great grandpa, poppy, whatever. And their lineage comes out Herod the Great. And so what Herod the Great does is he starts installing his own priest. Not Aaron's line. See, in the New Testament, all those priests, the Sanhedrin, the Pharisees, they're not from Aaron's line. None of them. You know where their root comes from? Esau. And so he changes everything. When the New Testament starts, the Aaron priesthood is no longer there. It's gone. And so they bring in these Pharisees and they make it political. So everything turns into politics. So you get the Pharisees, and the Pharisees, they're going to be your real conservatives. That's going to be your real conservative party. The Sadducees are your more liberal party. And then your government officials are Herodians. So that's your three branches of government in the New Testament. Pharisees, Sadducees, and Herodians. And these guys, what they do is they set up these courts called the Sanhedrin. Y'all remember hearing about that? You never had those in the Old Testament. Where did that develop? Here's where it developed. Esau. From that line. Because there's no more Aaron. There's no more priesthood of Aaron. It's done. So now you've got the greater Sanhedrin Court. You got the lesser Sanhedrin Court. And in the greater court, like the Supreme Court, that's where the chief Sadducees, they all sit on those courts. And then the lesser Sanhedrin courts, the lower guys sit. But it's all a political thing. There's nothing religious at it. The theocracy is gone. Now it's become a political machine. So when Jesus Christ shows up and he's fighting against the machine, man, it's not because they're from Aaron. These guys are all from Esau. They're not even supposed to be in those positions. So that's why you see Jesus Christ fighting against them so much. And man, just, this ain't right, that ain't right. What do you think you're doing? Flipping money changers. Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. Beware of this, the Sadducees, this and that. The Sanhedrin, man, he's out there in front of all of them. And he won't even have nothing to do with none of them because they ain't supposed to be there. That's how much changes in the year where there is nothing being said by God. In those 400 years, there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff that changes the whole scope of that Jewish nation. And if you don't rightly divide it, and if you don't understand it, then when you get in the New Testament and you start looking back at this, you're going, what is that? Where did that come from? Who there? What's that? The thing is, you don't have to necessarily be a history major, but you need to have a concept understanding. So that way when you're dealing with looking at the Bible, so that when the New Testament shows up, what you've got is you've got Esau, that profane individual, the Bible says. He was profane. Sitting on a throne, and those wise men come to him. He said, yeah, I want to know where he's at. He didn't want to worship him. Wanted to kill him. Why? Esau.